HOA threatened to euthanize my cat. I took them to court. They said my cat was a danger to the community. They left notes, threatened legal action. And then came the letter. Remove the animal or we'll contact animal control. But what they did not expect was that I would take them to court. This is not just about a cat. This is about fear, control, and one woman's refusal to be bullied. When I first moved into the neighborhood, I was not looking for drama. I was looking for peace. After a difficult breakup, job stress, and losing my father in the same year, I needed somewhere to breathe again. Somewhere I could rebuild without judgment, noise, or chaos. So I found it. A small condo in a quiet HOA-regulated community. The grass was always trimmed, the fences were identical, and the silence, it felt like safety. But I was not alone. I had someone with me. Her name was Luna, a sleek gray tabby with piercing green eyes and the calmest spirit I had ever known. Luna was more than a cat. She was my therapy, even before she was formally registered. She knew when I was spiraling. She curled up beside me during panic attacks. She would tap her paw on my hand when I had not gotten out of bed in days. She would rub against my chest. After that first anonymous letter, I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was just one angry neighbor. Maybe it would blow over. But it did not. The next week, I came home to find a sticky note on my front door. This is a shared community. Pets should not be allowed at all. Again, no name, no signature, just bold handwriting in red marker. Then came the whispers. I would walk Luna to the patio for fresh air, never off-leash, never unattended, and I would feel eyes on me from across the street. One woman literally crossed the sidewalk to avoid us. Another mumbled, "That's the one with the cat," as I passed. Luna, of course, was unfazed. She did not know they were talking about her. She just wanted sun, quiet, and closeness. But the messages continued. A third note slipped under my door. HOA rules are clear. You are breaking them. Remove the animal before we escalate this legally. Legally? Over a cat? I checked the bylaws. There was nothing against indoor cats. Nothing about emotional support animals. Nothing even remotely specific to my case. Still, I sent an email to the HOA just to clarify. Hello. I wanted to confirm whether there are any restrictions on keeping a cat indoors. Luna is fully vaccinated, quiet, and stays inside at all times. She is also in the process of being registered as an emotional support animal. Please advise. I expected a neutral reply. What I got was a warning. We've received multiple complaints. Please be advised that continued violations may result in action under nuisance regulations. Nuisance? Luna barely made a sound. She had not damaged property. She did not roam. She was not even visible most of the time. But none of that mattered. This was no longer about rules. This was about power. And for some reason, my quiet, gentle cat had become the target. I could feel it. Something bigger was coming. I just did not know how far they would go. It was a Tuesday morning. I had just fed Luna and sat down with a cup of tea, thinking maybe the tension had passed. That is when I heard the knock. Not the usual polite knock. This was hard. Aggressive. I opened the door and saw a man in a blazer holding a clipboard. No smile, no greeting, just a printed document and a cold expression. "We're with the HOA Enforcement Board. This is your official notice." He handed me a letter, sealed, stamped, and terrifyingly bold. Final warning. Your pet has been reported as a community risk. Failure to remove the animal within 10 days will result in the HOA contacting County Animal Control. Should removal not occur, we reserve the right to involve local authorities and pursue legal action, including humane euthanasia, if deemed necessary. I read it 3 times. My hands were shaking. Euthanasia? My cat was not dangerous. She was not even disruptive. She was a fully vaccinated, indoor, emotional support animal. What kind of people threaten to kill a therapy animal? I looked down and Luna had walked to the doorway, curling around my ankle, as calm as ever, as if to say, "I'm not going anywhere." That was the moment something shifted inside me. Fear turned into rage, and rage turned into resolve. "You picked the wrong woman," I whispered. I grabbed my phone. I called my therapist. Then I called an attorney. This was no longer about a few nasty letters. This was no longer about HOA rules. This was about fighting for the life of someone who had saved mine, again and again. They wanted war, I was ready. The first thing I did was call my therapist. I told her everything. The notes, the warning letters, and now this threat to euthanize Luna. Her voice stayed calm but firm. We're going to document everything. Luna qualifies as an emotional support animal under federal law. They cannot do this. That word, cannot, gave me a little breath of air. Within 24 hours, she sent me a signed letter, confirming Luna's role in my mental health treatment. It included details about my PTSD diagnosis, treatment history, and how Luna's presence directly reduced the severity of my panic episodes and depressive episodes. Next, I contacted a local tenants' rights attorney who specialized in Fair Housing Act violations. I emailed him every document, the HOA letters, the anonymous notes, the threat of euthanasia, my therapist's certification. He called me back 30 minutes later. This is not just unethical, it is illegal. They cannot force you to remove a verified ESA from your home. They definitely cannot threaten animal control or euthanasia. That's a violation of the FHA and potentially even a state cruelty offense. He told me we had a strong case. He drafted a cease and desist letter to the HOA board, citing federal ESA protections, discrimination under the Fair Housing Act, emotional distress damages, retaliatory harassment. He sent it certified mail and copied the county commissioner's office. By the end of the week, the HOA had gone silent. No more knocks, no more notices, no more red marker threats. But I knew silence did not mean surrender. They were regrouping, and I was preparing for the next move. Because this was bigger now. It was not just about me and Luna anymore. It was about every person being threatened for simply needing emotional support. And I was not just going to defend Luna. I was going to make an example out of the people who tried to destroy her. A week after the threat, everything changed. The HOA board thought I would panic, that I would pack up, give up, or worst of all, surrender Luna. Instead, I served them legal fire. My attorney personally hand-delivered the cease and desist letter, 12 pages, citing federal law, housing code, mental health discrimination, and threats of unlawful animal seizure. Attached was my therapist's official ESA documentation, photos of Luna in my home, proof of her veterinary history and behavior record, and a declaration from 2 neighbors who said Luna never once caused a problem. But that was not the end of it. My lawyer also filed a formal complaint with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for disability-based harassment. They're going to feel this, he told me. Within days, the HOA received notice from HUD, and suddenly, they were the ones scrambling. The same HOA rep who once ignored my emails now sent a desperate message. We never intended harm. This was just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? You threaten to euthanize someone's companion and call it a misunderstanding? I refused to respond. This was not the time for conversation. This was time for accountability. So we escalated. My attorney filed a small claims lawsuit in state court for emotional distress, violation of ESA rights, retaliatory harassment, HOA misconduct. And here is the best part. The story got picked up by a local news blog. The headline, Woman Sues HOA After Cat Threatened with Euthanasia. Emotional Support Rights Under Fire. It spread. Fast. More neighbors came forward with similar stories. Someone knocked on my door, a quiet man from down the street. They tried to ban my son's therapy dog last year. I didn't know we had rights. Thank you for fighting. That moment, it lit a fire I did not know I still had. This was not just about saving Luna anymore. This was about everybody they tried to silence. And now, we were heading to court. The courtroom was cold, not in temperature, but in tension. On one side sat the HOA's attorney, stiff suit, thick file, and a face that looked like this was just another task on his checklist. On the other side, me and Luna. She sat in her carrier beneath the table, calm and curious, like she knew she belonged there. And she did. The judge entered and the hearing began. The HOA opened with their argument. We acted on multiple community complaints. Our concern was public health. Cats can trigger allergic reactions. We had no proof the animal was legally registered. My lawyer stood composed. Your Honor, this is not a stray. This is a certified emotional support animal protected under the Fair Housing Act. The HOA issued threats of forced removal, contacted animal control, and even threatened euthanasia, all while ignoring documented proof, including this ESA letter from a licensed therapist, which they received and disregarded. He dropped the file onto the desk, hard. The echo filled the room. Then he added, "This is not just cruelty. This is a violation of federal law." I was asked to speak. My voice trembled, but I spoke from truth. Luna is not just my cat. She wakes me from nightmares. She comforts me when I am overwhelmed. She helps me survive. I was harassed, threatened. I could not sleep. I lived in fear that they'd come take her, all because some people did not like that I had help. The judge listened, silently, no interruptions. When it was over, he looked down at the HOA. His voice was stern. This is not how a homeowners association should behave. You ignored legal rights. You threatened someone's mental health. The court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Then, the best part. You are to pay damages in the amount of $7,500. You are to update your HOA policies to comply with ADA and FHA guidelines, and you are to issue a written apology, signed by the board, within 10 days. It was done. I turned to Luna, still sitting quietly, blinking up at me. We did it, baby girl. She yawned and curled into her blanket, as if none of it surprised her, because maybe she knew all along. She was never just a cat. She was the reason I had the strength to fight back. The courtroom battle was over. But what happened afterward changed everything. 3 days after the ruling, I received a letter. Not a threat, not a notice, but a formal apology. We regret our actions. We acknowledge your legal rights. The HOA board has voted to revise all policies regarding emotional support animals effective immediately. And beneath that, 10 signatures. 10 people who once saw Luna as a nuisance, now forced to recognize her as a protected presence. But the real change? It came from the people. A neighbor I had never met rang my doorbell. A teenage boy stood beside her, holding a small pug in a vest. "My son has anxiety," she said. "We never told anyone, but after seeing your story, we finally registered his support dog. Thank you." Another woman dropped off a handmade toy for Luna with a note. "She's a hero." Even the local paper did a feature. HOA lawsuit leads to mental health policy overhaul. One cat's fight for justice. Luna, she still curls up in the sunlight. She still sleeps at the edge of my bed every night. She still nudges my hand when I go quiet for too long. But now, when she looks up at me with those bright green eyes, I see something more. I see power. Because she is the reason I stood up. She is the reason I said enough. And she is the reason people in my neighborhood now feel safe to speak up too. This was never just about a cat. This was about fear, control, abuse of power. And what happens when you push the wrong woman too far? So if anyone out there is scared to fight back, let me tell you what I learned. You do not have to be loud to be strong. You just have to love something enough to protect it. And Luna? She loved me when I could not even love myself. That is why I took them to court. That is why we won.